Hi there and welcome to TechPlower. I've been using the Samsung Galaxy S7 as my daily driver for about 3 weeks now. And here is my honest review. Switching to the new Galaxy S7 is quite easy, since there was a small object included in the box which converts from micro USB to USB. And by using this converter, you can transfer your data from your old phone to this new phone. You can even transfer your data from an iPhone, as I did. But I had some problem transferring all my data from my iPhone. Maybe it was the large amount of photos that I was storing on my iPhone. But the transfer app always crashed when I tried to transfer all my data. But I was able to transfer my contacts, my memos, but not my messages. Let's check out the design. The phone is beautifully constructed from glass and aluminium. It has curved edges on the back, which makes it more comfortable to hold than the Samsung Galaxy S6. But since it has both glass on the front and the back, this phone is a fingerprint magnet. If you want to keep the phone clear of fingerprints, you have to constantly wipe it off. The power button is situated on the right side of the phone, and it's easily reachable using your thumb. The volume up and volume down buttons are on the left side and are very tactile and clickable. On the bottom of the phone we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, we have micro USB for charging and data transfer, and then we have a microphone and the speaker. On the front we have the earpiece, the 5MP front-facing camera, the notification light and the home button at the bottom, which also serves as a fingerprint reader. And on each side of the home button we have capacitive keys. On the right side we have the back button, and on the left side we have the multitasking button. On the top of the phone we have yet another microphone, and then we have the SIM card slot. And in the same slot we have expandable storage as well, which was absent in the Samsung Galaxy S6. And finally, on the back of the phone we have the 12MP dual pixel camera, the dual tone flash and the heart rate sensor. So let's talk about the display. We have a 5.1-inch Quad HD Super AMOLED display. The colors of the display are very vibrant, and blacks and contrasts are very visible. This display offers a feature called Always On Display. This means that you can have parts of the display showing information, such as the date, clock, battery status, and notifications. Unfortunately, the Always On display only seems to show notifications for built-in apps such as messages. It would have been nice if all apps could show notifications on the Always On display. That would mean that when you get notifications, you don't have to turn on the whole display to see what happened. But as neat and useful the Always On display is, it can also be distracting, because the position of the Always On portion shifts on regular intervals, and when that happens, it can be distracting if the display is visible, because then you might think you have got some notifications, but maybe you don't. So the Always On display has both pros and cons. The sensitivity of the display is not as I'm used to. I'm very used to the displays on the iPhones, and on this phone there are times that my touches are not recognized, and also times where I get unintended touches. So the sensitivity of the display is not as good as I expected. Even though the capacitive keys on the bottom are very useful, for instance the back button, they can also be annoying, because sometimes these buttons are triggered even though I'm not trying to press them. I think the main reason is that their active zones reach too far to the edges. Let's turn our attention to the cameras. And if you haven't seen my comparison video between the Samsung Galaxy S7 and iPhone 6, check it out by clicking the card above. And also check my overview of the features and settings of the camera. As mentioned in the beginning, we have a 12MP camera on the back, and in most scenarios the photos from this camera are very beautiful. But in many cases the images are oversaturated and sharpened, especially in the auto mode. But there are plenty of pro features that you can configure to get a better picture. And since the camera has f1.8 aperture, it handles low light photography much better than the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the iPhone 6. The lens of the rear camera is also quite wide, so taking a selfie with the rear camera is no problem. But talking about selfies, the front camera is also quite good. It has a 5 megapixel sensor, and the front-facing camera also has a wide-angle lens, so it's of course great for selfies. And it also offers nice features to enhance your selfie photos, such as f1.8 aperture lens, wide selfie mode, and some face-enhancing features. So both cameras can produce beautiful photos, especially the rear camera. And taking videos with these cameras also gives good results in most scenarios, even though the cameras tend to over-sharpen the videos, as with the photos. The rear camera offers beautiful 4K videos and great slow-motion effects as well. As mentioned earlier, the fingerprint reader is situated on the home button, and this fingerprint reader works very well and is very close to the function of the iPhone 6s fingerprint reader. But occasionally the fingerprint reader doesn't recognize my fingerprint. But in most cases it does, and when it does, it's very quick. So thumbs up for Samsung for the fast fingerprint reader. Let's talk about the processor and performance. The processor of the device I have is the Exynos 8890 and running Geekbench 3, and the Geekbench score is 2101 in the single core and 6394 in the multi-core score. If we compare the single core score, it's greater than the HTC Nexus 9, it's about 800 points greater than the Samsung Galaxy S6, and for the multi-core score, it's around 2300 points higher than the Samsung Galaxy S6. But a benchmark doesn't say everything. In general, the phone is very snappy. There's no lag in opening apps or switching between apps. But the phone gets quite warm when watching videos or recording videos, especially in 4K, and playing games as well. But that doesn't seem to affect the performance. So let's turn our attention to the speakers and the microphones. The microphones of the phone are quite good. They give a clear and high stereo audio, but the noise cancellation of the microphones could be a little bit better. The speakers are quite loud, but they're a little bit muffled. The reason for the muffled feeling could be to the membranes, keeping it water resistant. I was interested to see the difference between the cameras of the Samsung Galaxy S7 and the iPhone 6. It is not as good as it is on the Samsung Galaxy S6. The earpiece when making a phone call gives clear and high audio, and the microphone seems to get the audio clearly to the recipient. Now let's talk about one important thing, that is battery life and charging. The phone includes a 3000 mAh battery, and the battery lasts quite well. I can go through a whole day without charging, but I would not try to go through 2 days. I usually charge the phone every night. But since the phone is equipped with fast charging, it doesn't take that long to charge the phone again. And it's very nice to see the estimated time to a fully charged phone. So how about the software? TouchWiz has often been criticized to be slow and ill-designed. The settings menu can be a little bit confusing at times, but otherwise the UI is quite nice. We have the game launcher that has some nice features up its sleeve. For instance, it can stop all alerts while you're playing the game. It can lock the multifunction key and the back key. It can take screenshots and even record your gameplay. And since the Galaxy S7 has a 5.1-inch display, it can be difficult sometimes to use it with one hand. But if you triple-click the home button, you get a one-handed view of the UI, and you can choose to have it on the right side or on the left side. That's quite neat. Then you of course have the functions connected to the multitasking button. If you press it, you get a carousel of all the open apps on your phone. But if you long press it, you get the option to split the screen in 2 halves, and those applications that offer split screen functionality will appear in the boxes. For the relatively small display on this phone, such split screen has a limited functionality. I didn't use it once in my time with the phone. In addition to the split screen, we have the floating windows or pop-up views. So if you drag your finger from the top left corner inside an app, the app will be minimized to a small window, which you can resize to the size you want. and you can move the window around. And you can even open more than one floating window. But I'm not sure how useful that is on a display that isn't bigger than 5.1 inches. At least I didn't have the need to use this feature. There's one neat trick when you need to move your app icons between home screens. You long press the icon and drag it up to the right of the screen. By doing this, you pin the app on the top of the screen, and then you can swipe to the correct home screen and then drag the app down to that home screen. This is much easier than dragging the app between home screens. So what's my conclusion on this phone? We have here a very well-designed phone with a gorgeous display and great cameras and many great features. But insensitive display and capacitive buttons, over-sharpening of photos, and the glass that is a horrible fingerprint magnet are just some of the things dragging this phone down. But of course, no phone is perfect. But if you're on a hunt for a great Android phone, I would surely recommend the Samsung Galaxy S7. This was my full and honest review of the Samsung Galaxy S7. I really hope you enjoyed this review. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free and ask me in the comments below. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share. See you in my next video.